We've got some.
Hey, I'm Luis.
And I'm Luis.
And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast.
We spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques from some of the top marketers in the world on how to create content that turns into profit. And today, we're bringing them to you so you can take action immediately and start creating real content momentum.
If you'd like to learn more about how to turn your content into profit, go to contentisprofit.com. Oh, yeah. We mentioned how it took us years to get in front of a camera and start creating content. Well, the main reason for that was fear. And that's why we're so excited for today's guest. Not only he helps people move beyond fear and become brave, but he has done it himself as well. So you know he's legit.
That's right. Today's guest story is extremely inspiring. He went from being insecure and afraid of stepping into a gym to compete in CrossFit 2 years later. And let me tell you this, if you have tried CrossFit before, you know how freaking hard that is. And if you haven't tried it yet, prepare to have wobbly legs for a full week. You know, it's fun. It is fun, but it's pretty tough.
He sold his car, he quit his job, and he has no bachelor's degree. Yet, he is making a six-figure income, which is more than his old job, and he is doing it his way, baby. Let's go. By helping others face their fears and become brave.
Yes.
That has come with his own share of challenges, but he is proud that he didn't give up. And you know what? We are proud too.
That's right. We're proud too you didn't give up, because that's what brings you here, and we're having this conversation now.
Let's go.
So everybody, please welcome the fear crusher, epic CrossFit athlete, and maybe your new favorite coach, Coach Alex Ray.
Hello, everyone. Oh my! I love the music intro. That was phenomenal.
Oh,
Thank you, Alex.
I feel like I'm coming into the stadium like. Rah!
Let's go.
Do you feel like you're in like a CrossFit game? You know, like
oh yeah, like way higher level than I ever made it too.
We already have comments coming for you, Alex. It looks like people love you, man. I can feel it. I can feel it. So so happy for you, Alex. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Live.
And shout out to Matt, who I see the comment coming in from now.
Yeah.
How are you, man?
Awesome, dude. Alex, we are so honored to have you here.
Yep.
Little fun story like on how you ended up in this show. We're like, man, like his story is so powerful. We have to share this, right? And by that, I mean, I had known nothing about your story, but FONZI was the one telling me, like, we have to bring him here.
So a little background for people listening. We actually have another show on Instagram that we do on live content. And it's so we can have more conversations with people, and we can, help others get more exposure as well. And we love meeting people in general. Absolutely. When we saw that profile came in, we're going to talk to him, and we did a research. We were like, wow, like this guy's message is awesome. We need to have him in Content is Profit. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here. And honestly, I can't wait to dive in.
Dude, so Alex, can you share a little bit with the audience and us? Like, who's Alex? Like, what is this crazy story that, you quit your job and now you're like making six figures, helping a ton of people and, being you and being comfortable and crushing fear? Like, what's the story?
It's a wild one. Okay, so as a kid, I was really, really, really insecure. A lot of it had to do with I was brought up in a very ultra conservative cult-like really church, and being a gay boy like in there, like I was totally closeted, totally afraid to be out, and I thought who I was like authentically would just totally push away any other people, and that so I was kind of doomed to always never be good enough is what I thought.
Wow.
I also struggled with a ton of just shame and everything around my body and my fitness level, always thinking that, okay, wait a minute, maybe if I could be, more muscular, then I'll be confident, right? If I have a confident looking body, then I'll gain confidence. So that was actually what got me into CrossFit in the first place, was I wanted to go and push my body and try to gain confidence that way. If I could change external, then I could change internal. It helped a little bit, but it also caused a whole lot of other issues for me where I thought I was showing up a whole lot more confidently, but I actually was just obsessed with people pleasing and trying to gain validation externally. So by 2017, 2017 is the year that I started coaching, because I did have a phenomenal transformation over the previous 2 or 3 years. And I had people that were coming to me and saying, hey, I want to do that too. How do I do it? Can you help me?
Yeah.
And in 2017, I said, great, let's start this. Let's start coaching. It was on the side. I was working a full-time salaried position at a tech company. And I was like, okay, I can do this. We can juggle both, right? I was so obsessed though with, and this is hyper relevant, with creating the content and doing a lot of busy work without actually really being in business.
Yeah.
You know, like, because you can create so much content and never have it actually be meaningful. Yeah. You can use content as a way to avoid actually doing business. It's like you're pretending to be in business.
Yeah. You know about that.
Oh yeah, I know all about that. That sounds extremely familiar.
Yeah. We'll start in a second with you.
So I was like doing Instagram posts. I was running Facebook groups. I did a Facebook Live twice a week, every week for that entire year and the first half of the next year. So I got really comfortable being in front of the camera, which was a great thing. That positive thing that came out of that. But by the end of the summer in 2017, I was only sleeping about 4 hours a night. I was working my job. Had like about an hour and a half commute. I worked out for 3 hours a day, 1 in the morning and 2 in the evening, because I was obsessed with that. And then going home and working all night until like 2 or 3 a.m. And then I would sleep for a few hours and get up and do it all over again.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's all while just hoping that if I can make this successful, then I'll feel validated. Then I'll feel better about myself. Then I'll feel confident. It was like a never-ending chase. So,
wow. So that was still, you said, in around 2017?
Yeah, that was all in 2017. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So I'm curious, like there's some points here that you already mentioned that I'm like, oh, I can't wait to dive into this. But I'm curious, what. So obviously you identify those challenges, like lack of sleep, for example, like that's not that healthy, right? I mean, what
It's terrible.
Yeah, I'm wondering like what that was doing for your mind, your saneness. And so what were some of the challenges besides those, and then how you overcome them? How did you get to that point where you were like, wow, like this is what I want to do, and this is the point where I'm going to say goodbye to my old self, and this is the new me and what I'm willing to do now?
Yeah, so it's an intense story. I've dealt with depression since I was in 2nd grade. I was on and off medication, in and out of therapy since then. In 2017, I got really, really low, and plus all the lack of sleep on top of that, plus a medication that was not working. And then I had been at the point by summer of 2017 where I was like, I'm done. It's time to do what I've been thinking about since I was 10 years old. I'm like, we're going to take care of this. I ended up getting into a relationship in August that year. And so I decided I would hang on for him. And when we broke up in October, it wasn't a very long lived relationship. I did, it's kind of sad to say, but I did really feel for the first time this total sense of peace, because I was like, it's done. I don't have to stick around here anymore. Wow. So I did attempt suicide in October that year. I thankfully ended up in the hospital where they cleared out the toxin. I had to do dialysis and everything to get everything out of my body, and then went into a full mental health institute where it was, secured and everything. And I, for the first time, really got honest and got the help that I needed from the therapists and doctors there. And then it was like intense therapy for the next 6 months. And then for the next few years after that too.
Dude, Alex, first off, thank you for sharing that story. I know that it's not easy. I know a lot of people listening and watching right now can take this as an inspiration. And, it's scary to think that for so many of us, just touching that rock bottom is the only thing that's going to make us move forward, right? But thank you for sharing your story. And I hope it serves as a motivation for people to be like, hey, let me look inside, right? Identify these factors that are preventing me from being myself, right? From being like connecting with the people that I really want to connect and express my feelings, express my thoughts, right? And take action. So I appreciate you, man. I know it's not easy sharing. Like it's we're like, honestly, I wasn't expecting.
I wasn't expecting. I did not know this part of your story, man. And I'm like, I'm shocked. I'm like, wow, And again, it takes, I feel like, being brave to share that story. So thank you so much. And I do want to put this out there. If anybody comes across this type of content, right, and you feel in a way like that, right, that there's help, go and look for help. I don't know personally right now the resources, but there's people that they're always willing to help. So we do encourage people to go on and look for the help.
Dude, Alex, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say real quick, a couple resources if you are listening to this, right? The Trevor Project, if you are in the LGBTQIA plus community, the Trevor Project is a phenomenal resource for you. And I haven't personally interacted with them, but I am familiar with them online, and they do seem like a wonderful organization that can help you. If you are looking at getting therapy or anything, there are, BetterHelp and I forget what the other one is called right now, but there are two different main online apps. And, right now with the pandemic and everything, most therapists are not seeing people in person. So if you want to get, if you need help right now at your fingertips, go search either of those two resources and you can absolutely get help there.
Dude, absolutely.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And we'll on our end, we'll do a little bit of a research and we're going to put the links right in the description. I know it's like maybe not the thing that we talk about, but it needs to be out there, man, because we don't really know what's happening, inside of us, right? Like we go through all like facing these monsters inside of us from very little things like going live in front of a camera to very big things like what Alex just told you about. So I think a big element here is also community and the environment. And we've talked many, many times about this. And once we put ourselves in that environment or that community that can elevate us as people, yes, we might lose one or two people that, might not be the best for us, but at the same time, you're gaining so much. And make sure that you guys find those awesome communities. And I'm sure, if you connect with Alex moving forward, he can help there. And surely we can as well. So, dude. Oh, what a freaking fire start of the show. Wow. Boom. I know. You were completely honest. You're like, crazy story. Absolutely. Probably one of the crazier stories that we've heard. And I appreciate you, man, sharing that because with content, being vulnerable and being this.
And entrepreneurship is a long road. So, there may be a lot of people that needed to hear your message. So, now, I'm curious, right? What happened next? Like, so you got your help, right? And you started to, let's say, pick yourself back up. That is the question, I'm sure. But what came next? How did you get to where you are right now?
Yeah. So what we found in the first month or so of therapy after that was that I had this belief really deep down that was the lens that I saw all of life through. And it was this belief that I am not enough. So I constantly needed to do things to try to earn value, earn lovability. And so my business and the content that I was putting out and the way that I interacted with other people all the time was always to try to earn value from a place of total emptiness. And then in order to do it, I was a chronic people pleaser. So I would change who I wouldn't be authentic because I was afraid of them not liking me, right? Because then I'm worthless if people don't like me. And the problem with that then was the more it becomes a vicious cycle where you don't act authentically, maybe people do start liking you, and then you prove to yourself, see who I am is not lovable. So I'm confirming that I'm not enough when people are giving me attention, but also confirming that I'm not enough when people are not. So finding that and realizing, like, wait a minute, who I like, being enough and everything is never based on anything outside of me.
Yeah.
As a human, and the illustration I love to use is like with a baby, you know, a newborn baby, we don't wait for that baby to be enough when they've like graduated college and gotten this successful career. And then we're like, yeah, that human's enough now. Like with the baby that's screaming and shitting itself.
Yeah, I can attest to that. I have a 16-month-old. Yeah, that happened. Yep.
You know, they're not doing anything productive for society at all. Not helpful for anyone. Yet we're like, yeah, that baby's totally enough, totally lovable, totally everything. So from that lens, then I was able to see, like, wait a minute, I have this all backwards. I'm already enough. Like, literally, I don't have to do anything. I could just decide to sit on my ass for the rest of my life if I wanted to. But like, I really don't want that version of life for me.
Yeah.
What I really want to do is go affect change in the world. And I really want this business to be successful, not so that I can feel good about myself, but because I know that there are other people out there that are dealing with the same fears, the same lack of confidence, the same struggle to love themselves that I went through. I was like, that's what I want to do. And it's just icing on the cake. Like, I'm already here. I'm already whole. I'm already enough. I'm already all that in a bag of chips, right? And I just get to have fun now with building this business. It took all the pressure off of like failing and succeeding, but it wasn't immediate. I really wish, and this is how like I did the coach that I am today. I'm constantly thinking about, okay, if I had met myself 5 years ago, what would I have taught that person? What did I, especially in 2017, what did I need to hear? I wish I could be that person. Like, I now want to be the person for that person. I want to coach anyone that's in that circumstance. And then because not only do you feel a whole lot better, like I don't use any medication or anything anymore. I came off it in the beginning of 2019, so almost 2 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you. And I still work with a therapist. I also have a life coach. And because coaches need coaches, we all need a brain outside of ours to see what we're not seeing.
Can we say again? Coaches need coaches, man. And for people listening out there, if you are trying to invest in somebody, ask them, who is your coach? Like, that's a very important question, because if they're not developing themselves as they move forward, it's going to be really hard for them to develop you. So thank you, Alec, for putting that out there, man. I appreciate you.
Hashtag golden boulder right here.
Hashtag golden boulder. Let's go. We got the
I
horn.
love it.
We got the air horn.
Oh man, dude. I have chills, man. Like, this is incredible.
Yeah,
like,
your story is extremely powerful, man. It is. I'm gonna be 100% honest. Like, I knew it was gonna be a cool story, but man, you dropped some bombs here, and I was like, wow, I'm surprised. There's so many value points that you talked about that. I mean, we're definitely gonna go back and discuss. But what a change in your life.
Huge change. Yeah. And
Incredible.
How, a question, like when you change your perspective, right?
Mhm.
Like share with us a little bit of the success side. Like what is the things, the success that you're seeing with your clients, with the people that you're coaching? Because we got the backstory, we got the transformation. Now you've had a few years now of experience with people helping them. What's happening? Like I want to know, like, what are these people achieving?
yeah. So I started seeing definitely a shift. I mean, because so we've got like 18, 19, and now 20. So like 3 years, right? And I can look at it and clearly see this like gradient of like, okay, here's where we started and we're
Yeah.
like changing to over here. And every time that I was more authentic in any area of my life, it didn't have to just be a business, the more results I was seeing, the more results I was also seeing in my clients. So when I no longer was in my own head about the fears that I had about being maybe upfront or honest or sharing my story or saying things that needed to be said that nobody wanted to say, I would put that, like when I would be brave enough to write content with that stuff that felt very fearful, I would put it out there, and that was 100% of the time the content that got the most traction. It helped the most people, and I would get DMs about it. I would get hopefully clients out of it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like, I knew that the impact that I was having was trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
And so every time, like even recently, within the last month, I found some areas of I was like, oh, you know what? I'm like really letting fear hold me back here. All right, cool. It's a never ending journey. So I was like, all right, this is how my content needs to shift. And one of my coaches told me, she goes, I've been reading your posts like the last 2 weeks, and I don't know if it's the algorithm or what, but like I see it more, and maybe I just didn't pay attention before, but like it's really, really good.
Yeah.
And so for that, like, yeah, the more you get over the fear of what are people going to think of me, what am I going to think of myself, the stronger your message can be. And I think all of us want to actually have an impact on the world. That's what we care the most about.
Absolutely. I do think everybody wants to be heard. And it's just that fear holding people back, And wow, I want to. Okay, I've been saying now like 3 times. Like I've got so many points here. Yeah,
Go back to your point.
I need to go back to these points because again, they need to be discussed. They are absolutely amazing, right?
Hold on, give me a second. Are you gonna like list them like that? And
no, we're gonna go in deep. Yeah, we go. Okay.
Comb them with a.
Yeah. So Alex, at the very beginning, you actually said, if I can change external, I can change internally, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think like at times I felt that myself, right? That like if I can change something that will change other people's perception, then I can change my own perception of myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, what do you tell people that are in that mindset right now, right? Because I feel that is kind of like, I don't care what anybody think of me anymore. Again, I'm enough, right? That mindset that we need to get to. And I'm curious, like, what is it? How does that journey looks for someone that is stuck in that belief?
Yeah, great question. So what I like to use is, this is a tool that I use with all of my clients. It's called the model, and it's a coaching tool to just observe and understand our brain and like how we're interacting with the world, right? So we have our circumstance, that's anything outside of ourselves. We have a thought about it, like a sentence in our head, how we're interpreting. Then we have a feeling that's caused by that thought. We take action based on how we feel, or maybe we don't do anything. We might not make the post. We might not write the content, right? And then we create a result out of that. And our thought always creates the result. So the thing that I always like to challenge my clients to remember, and it's something I'm always having to do to myself too, is like, other people don't create how I feel ever.
Yeah.
Other people are just a circumstance. They're neutral until I have a thought about it. So when you're stuck in that place of like, oh, I want external validation so that I can feel more confident, it's never going to work, because the reason that you feel not confident is because of a thought that you have. Your thought always creates your feeling, right? So if you can change the circumstance line all day long,
Yeah.
you will, if you keep the thought that I'm not enough somehow, or some flavor of that, you will always stay insecure. So you don't even need or want people to agree with you. It doesn't matter at all. And then you take back a whole lot more ownership and control over your life and how you show up, because you can totally let other people not agree with you, not like you. They can hate your content. And you're like, oh, okay, great. Like that's you. But my thought is that somebody needs to hear this.
Dude, this is so important, right? And I'm gonna bring it back to content and social media, because we have to get this right. Like, we have to follow what Alex is saying, because if you are not in that right mindset, and then you go out on social media and start telling your thoughts with the expectation that people are gonna like you, right? This is just gonna boost that crazy circle that Alex was describing earlier, and then you're gonna fall into this downward spiral, and then you're not gonna feel good about yourself, your business, anything. And it can be really, really dangerous, because social media has the potential to take it viral, reach a ton of people, and it can be very scary. So I want you listening and watching, rewind and listen the last like 5 minutes and get that straight, because if you are in a place where you're starting to publish, it's going to happen, and you have to be okay with people not liking you. You have to be sure of your message, and that's okay. Just know that people, if they don't agree with you, if they disagree, if they don't like you, that's okay, right?
Yeah.
And you can test it out. I think like personally for us, when we first we changed our perspective, and we're like, hey, right, instead of chasing all the shiny objects, let's just put this show out. And even before that, with the 45 Live, let's just put the stuff that we're doing out and see what happens, right? Like, we don't care already like what people think. Like, let's just see what happens, and we test things out, and that gave us the path to continue doing the things that work. So awesome, dude. Thank you so much for bringing that up.
And it sounds like you showed up with curiosity, which is such a beautiful feeling to show up especially when you're trying to grow your business. Like, if you can show up with curiosity, then you're unattached, and you're not like, oh, they hate me. Yeah, they're right. I should have stayed in my bedroom and never come out and never posted the video, right?
Yeah.
And then the result that you end up creating from that is failure. Like, the failure didn't happen to you, you created it.
Yeah.
So there's just, failure is just data. Giving up is what you don't want to do. Failure, oh my God, chase it all day long. The more fails, the more you know, because if you know how not to do it, then you're going to know how to do it also.
Dude,
you're dropping quotes here. Like,
I know.
The more you fail, the more you know. I love it.
Failure is just data. You were just talking about that the other day,
samples.
like samples. They're just samples that tell you information, and they're like, it just didn't help you, on the direction that you need to go. Funny story. This is the thing. Like, I was on that WhatsApp group. Like, we're helping a group of people
this is the story
on the Hispanic market. Yes. So this is the story. Oh. Okay. And these are coming, right? They up for this awesome program. It's not our program, but they search out for help on the publishing, right? Because this program is telling you guys have to be out there. You need to be creating content. And I guess that's what we're known for, right? We do these live shows. We make mistakes.
We like to talk.
We like to talk. We're like, this is home. So they started to reach out, and then there's a group of like 7 people. And we were like, hey, we jumped on a call with them, and like, the first thing that you got to do is we challenge you to go 45 days straight, just Facebook Live. What do I say? Just tell a story and then tie it down to what you do and see what's up. And one of these people had like, what was it? Like 30,000 people on a Facebook group?
She has a group of 30,000 people.
30,000 women, like her dream audience. I'm like, you gotta like start doing this thing in your Facebook group. This is intense, like insane. So they started doing this. They've been doing it now for a couple of weeks, right? And you know, last night I go to bed and there's a ton of messages of them interacting with each other, like, oh man, like I went live and this happened, I went live and this happened. And one of the messages was like, hey, really, like I'm coming to this group to kind of unload, right? Because this just happened. I put my message out there, and then these two people that I thought they were really, really close friends, they were totally against what I was saying. They butchered my message, my video, and I guess I don't have those friends anymore. But look what I gained, right? I have this new group of people that think like me. Again, going back to community and environment, right? So we jumped off real quick and we sent them a voicemail. We're like, hey, this is perfect. This is, you know, the life or your content or whatever it is telling you, this is the direction that you should go because this is your message. This is what you believe in. And you know that by you putting your message out, you're helping many, many people. And we talk about the hourglass effect. You affect one person, that person goes to affect so many others, right? It's so powerful. And it's down what you were saying a few minutes earlier with the failing is just data. It just tells you where to go, which is awesome. So we need to take those samples and run with them, man. So we're like looking for every opportunity. What can we do that is actually going to tell us, oh man, you guys screwed up. Oh, that's fine. Let's go the other way. And you know, let's just continue to do it.
Yeah, you know, and it's about taking responsibility, you know, responsibility of your own thoughts, on how you feel. This is something that I've learned in the last year or so. That, I mean, if we depend on how we feel on others, we're literally just handing them our own power. Like here, like
yes,
depending on how other people react or whatever, that's gonna affect me. It cannot be that way, right? Because if they're having a bad day, then does that mean I'm gonna have a bad day? It cannot be like that, right? They can have a bad day. They can have the best day. I still decide what type of day I'm gonna have, right? For example, and this is obviously on a very smaller scale, but before we hop on here live, I was talking to you about the coffee. Like, hey, do you like coffee, right? Like this morning, the coffee machine wasn't working, but I was like, you know what? But I'm not going to let that little thing ruin my day. And and I feel, I actually, again, Fonzi's book club right here. I always throw a book out there. And I totally recommend this book for everybody, especially you, Alex. If you haven't read it, I think you're going to love it. It's called The Courage to Be Disliked, right?
Ooh, I like that. I haven't read that yet.
It's really good. And, you know, it is a philosopher talking to this kid. And the kid is like, but, you know, like, can everybody be happy? And the philosopher is like, yes. So the book is him telling him why everybody can be happy. And one of the things is like, people use certain things that happen in their life as an excuse to be how they want to be. So if you're getting mad, it's because you want to be upset and mad. So then you need to look inside and tell yourself, okay, why do I want to be mad? Right? I can change. And it's crazy how when people get awareness of that, like how when you can be aware of your own thoughts and your own feelings and say, okay, why am I doing this? Like that, I think that's the beginning of change, right?
Absolutely.
How do people become aware of those things, right? Because there's a lot of people out there that you tell them one thing and bam, they'll snap at you like crazy, right? It's like a reflex. It's insane. So how do we help people become aware?
Yeah. Become aware of their thoughts, or
become aware of their false beliefs and their victimhood, if you want to put it that way, right? So then, because this is me personally, I think awareness is the beginning of that change, right? If I wasn't aware of, I am the one that creates the excuses of how I want to act, I wouldn't be looking back and say, okay, well, let me remove this because this is not like this. I can actually do my own future. So how do we drive that awareness into people?
Yeah, well, I think it just goes back to that model that I talked about of remembering that like your circumstances don't create how you feel. That's why. So I had, I actually have a post that's coming out on Instagram about this today, where, where what's that?
We got exclusive content.
Exclusive. Yeah, you're getting it a few hours early. Here you go. You ready for the real tea? So this summer, it was really weird. I witnessed 2 different accidents. And in both cases, the cars were totaled. The first accident, the drivers were like in their 20s. And when I got out to check on them, they were totally physically fine, but like hysterical emotionally, right? And could not speak. The second accident that I witnessed was an elderly man in his 80s, also completely demolished car. Thankfully, it was just a single car accident, but you know, he also was physically fine. But when I got out to ask if he was okay, this was his response. This is a direct quote. I'm fine. Thank you so much for checking on me. I guess this just isn't one of those good days.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I was like, this is wonderful. Look.
Yeah.
And I immediately was like, holy shit.
Wise man.
That is what everyone needs to hear. Right. So wise.
Yeah.
And because he wasn't like, well, my whole freaking life is ruined because I've totaled my car. He was ready to just move on. It's not the car accident. Okay. So when your life is looking like a shitstorm, which most people are thinking of like 2020, like, oh, well, when January 21 hits, then I will start my business. Then I will put out content. Then I will feel brave. No, that's the most ridiculous lie that we tell ourselves, is that like January 1 means nothing. The new year is nothing. If you take your brain and just change the date, you still got the same brain with the same thoughts, and you're going to create the exact same results and the same feelings. So if you're not successful right now, you don't want to wait until the new year. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Like, the puppy wants to like say something too.
Right.
Like, hey.
He's like, preach.
I know, exactly. That's so awesome.
So it's just remembering that, hey, our circumstances don't create what I feel. Otherwise, it would be a known fact that everyone that gets in a car accident is always either having a good day or always hysterical.
Yeah.
Everyone would have, but they don't have the same reaction. That's also like the pandemic and everything. Awful that people are dying. Really awful. But what people are experiencing emotionally in quarantine, not everyone has the same reaction.
Absolutely.
Not everyone is feeling the same way, right? You and I are on here having a great conversation, right? And meeting people online because we're like, well, all right, I can't meet people in person. What else can I do?
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely, man.
Other people are paralyzed. So it's just remembering like, hey, stop telling yourself this lie. Stop giving up that power. It feels nice for a moment because you don't have to take any responsibility.
That's right.
It's easy.
It's I see it as developing a habit, right? Is consistency. And if you stay consistent with those negative thoughts, you're just gonna be, kind of like imprinting them in you, and then it's gonna be way more difficult to get out of there.
Yeah.
So I invite everybody, try to be a little bit more aware of your thoughts, and when you catch yourself doing something that you are maybe not proud of or that you want to feel like, be like, okay, why am I feeling like this? Why am I acting like this? And I'm sure like once you go into that like awareness, you're like, oh, well, like this is actually silly. Like I can move on and life is going to be okay.
It comes down to a decision, right? Like, I got to make the decision that, when I feel this way, I got to stop, breathe once or twice, and then change my perspective, right? It's like, why am I feeling this thing? It's my fault, right? Just having that mentality. It's my fault that I'm feeling this way. What can I do now that I can feel the opposite, right? And I think it was like, I think I heard this with Grant Cardone. Like he's very out there and very polarizing with his message.
Oh yeah.
But he was telling the story about there's a big building, right? And millions of dollars spent in an apartment, and then the lights goes the lights or the power in the whole building goes out for a full week, right? So everybody in the freaking building is blaming the building manager, the city, like, oh, it's their fault my food is going rotten, right? It's their fault that, I don't know what to do now because there's no technology, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? So the powers come back on, and then he's like, dude, it's my fault because I didn't have a backup generator to make sure that I can power my apartment. So I'm actually going to go take action. I'm going to get my power generator, bring it to the apartment. So next thing this happens, I'm Gucci.
Right.
And then he's like, dude, so then what happens? The power freaking goes out. He's not blaming the city. He's not blaming anybody. He just plugs his power generator and he has electricity for a full week, right? So that's very clear. Like, to me, that story was very powerful because it was like, man, like, things happen. Like, it's going to happen. Like, it happened to the old guy. It happened to the two kids in the car crash. What's your perspective? How are you going to stop and be like, okay, this is my fault. How can I either fix it now or how can I prevent it in the future? And that's so important to understand.
I have a follow-up question that just came up from what he was saying right here, right? Like, so when you get responsibility, start, accepting responsibility of everything in your life. I feel like some people might fall into kind of like beating yourself up. So let's use this example of, wow, I didn't have a generator. Oh, I'm so dumb. Why didn't I go get a generator, right? And they start falling into that negative loop. How can they avoid that again? Or is it again that model system, right? But I'm curious, like, why do people fall into that self-hate, if you wanna call it that way? And how can then they transition it to self-love? Because at the end of the day, again, I'm putting it back in content. We make mistakes all the time. In the intros everywhere, and if we would,
today was golden though. Today was amazing.
Today was pretty good. There we go.
Good.
But like, if we would beat ourselves up every single time we made a mistake, this podcast would have been over a long time ago. And I don't mean this episode, like the whole podcast would have been done a long time ago. Yeah. So I'm curious, what separates self-hate from self-love?
Yeah. So it's first just the recognition that anything in your past now becomes a circumstance. Okay, because you can't change it anymore. It's already done. You already had planned your whole life thinking you don't need a backup generator. You never thought of it, right? Your old self was totally unaware that the power might go out on this date for a whole week. So just allowing yourself to say, oh yeah, of course that made sense at the time. I had never experienced this. No big deal. I'm not stupid and worthless and everything for missing that this might happen. None of us knew the pandemic was going to hit this year. We morons for that, right? No. So just going, okay, well, I didn't prepare for this. But I didn't prepare because I had a thought that was serving me very well at the time. The thought was, don't spend money on a generator. That's a waste. I'll never need it. Now I have a brand new thought. I wish I had a generator, so I'm going to go and get it. So just being careful not to use your thoughts against yourself, because that's what's happening when you're like, oh, well, then I'm so awful. I should have known. So I'm so glad you asked it, because it's something that I deal with all the time with my clients, where as soon as I show them what they're thinking, they're like, I'm the worst. Fuck it. I will never be able to get out of this. Like, no, you absolutely can. Just gain awareness and then look at it like without judging yourself harshly. And I like to just use that phrase of like, of course I thought this before. It made sense. I'm not an idiot. Like, of course I would think this. That's fine.
I want to highlight something there, because the word usage, right? Like, and this is like a constant battle I have at home with my wife, right? It's the expressions, right? You're like, oh man, I'm the worst. Shoot, like just by saying it, you're reinforcing that, right?
Right. Or I'm my biggest enemy. I hate that one.
The what? It got cut off just a second. What was it?
When people say I'm my own worst enemy.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I mean, like, we need to be aware of what we say, because words are so powerful, and that's the signal that you're sending to yourself, to your mind, to your brain, and then you're gonna act that way. And the battle that I have is because we're like, oh, that's not really like that important, but it is, because your subconscious is very alive and taking all this information, and you know what that word means, you know how that word makes you feel, so then your brain is gonna take that signal and it's gonna act on it, right?
So a super quick example about that, right? So 2 days ago I was playing soccer and my team lost, right? And
They got
I was
crushed.
that we didn't
So
get
bad.
we didn't get crushed badly, but we lost, and I was very upset. But then we were sitting outside, and I hear my team saying, "Well, every time we come to this field, we play terrible."
Oh, good
And
conditioning.
everybody was saying that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I told them, I'm like, dude, if we keep saying that every single time we come to this field, we are gonna play terrible.
Right.
And it was, I could see it in their eyes. They were like, you know what? Like, you're right. Like every single, like we are just falling in this negative loop of talking negative to yourself. So your body's going to remember, literally, like as soon as you step in that field, the first thought that's going to hit your head is going to be like, oh, I play bad in this field. We're not going to have a good game in this field. Therefore, that translates into the game, into having a bad game. But so, it, like you said, it changes with one little thought.
You said it earlier. Thoughts always create results, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
What are words? Words are just your thoughts out loud, right?
Yeah.
So just going off of that, your thoughts are always going to create results. So make sure that you're thinking the right thing, you're saying the right thing, so you can create the result that you want. So
Yeah.
powerful, dude. It has been freaking awesome, Alex. We thank you. There's a couple questions to wrap up the show. One, obviously, one on our end is go back and listen. If you're listening now, go back and listen it again in slow-mo, and then go watch it, because
but people don't know what you're talking about because you didn't actually
The
say the
episode.
question. I know.
an action point.
It's the action point. It's an action
It's
point.
an action point,
people.
guys. Come
He
on.
forgot to say it's an action point. So
I feel like our audience that loves everything on Content is Profit, they know by now. But no, that's right. Action point, guys. Action point time. Let's
we
go. Okay.
it was a mistake putting the air horn.
I know we're gonna use it so much. Alex, what's a quick action point that people can do today to move forward? Right? What's something that they can actually take action now and they can get a quick result?
So what I would say is go as it relates to content creation. Realize that more action just creates more of crappy results. So if you are thinking like, oh, okay, I'm creating some content, but I'm not getting the result that I want, you need to go back to the thought that you're creating it with. And if you're creating it out of a place of like desperation or graspiness, those emotions come from feelings of like, I'm not enough and everything. It's going to show up in your content and it's not going to get the result that you want. So slowing down and saying, okay, I need to change like the thought. And that was, Luis, what you had said, where you have the group, you said, just go in the Facebook group and post on live every single day. What you pushed them into was like a place of unattachment where they were like, all right, I'll try it. They didn't go in with it with this graspy attitude. And so because their thought was like, we'll see, let me just show up and try to serve people.
Yeah.
That's what showed up in their result. They took action from that place. And so just realizing like, if you're taking action and it's not working, don't do more of it. Slow down and think about and write it out on paper. I do that all the time. Like, what am I thinking right now? That's like, why am I taking action? What am I doing? What's my purpose here?
Yeah.
I love that. I love putting your thoughts into paper and asking yourself, why am I thinking that? I think that is very, very powerful. Thank you. I will start doing that. And I love what you said. If you're doing something that is not working, don't keep doing more of that stuff, because it's not randomly gonna change and start working overnight.
Right.
You know how it goes.
Right.
So yeah, thank you so much. Definitely a great action point.
Sweet.
And then our favorite question.
Do you want to ask it or do you want me to ask it?
You ask it because you got the notes right there, just in case. You usually ask it, so I don't.
You don't want to mess up we got to keep doing what is working.
We gotta keep working. There we go.
Practical example here, guys. Take notes. Okay. Dude, Alex, where will you be if you did not publish?
Where would I be if I didn't publish? Like online or
content, thoughts, putting it out there to the world?
I would be meeting people. I would find some way. I have like zero mind drama about it. Like if Facebook died tomorrow, like I could find another way to meet people.
Awesome.
That's the most important thing, is just constantly meeting new people and offering to help them with whatever you do. You're just offering like, hey, here's what I do. If you need help with that, I would love to help you. If not, no worries. There are a billion other people I can help.
I think you're the first person that says it doesn't matter as a vehicle. Like I'm still gonna go out and spread my message.
I love it.
Oh man, because everybody goes like, oh man, I will go to this like very negative like space because publishing or like putting my thoughts out there has allowed me to create a business, a relationship, and you were like, well,
yeah, but it didn't.
That vehicle
That's not what allowed them to create the business. It was their thought that allowed them to create the business.
And I love, like, again, social media is a vehicle to create these relationships. And I love how you said, I will still go out there and create relationships, whether I have this vehicle or another vehicle. So, I mean, thank you. That's great. That's a great answer. I mean, we do have the facility nowadays that social media is a vehicle that is easy for everybody to use and put your ideas out there. But at the same time, it is great to do that in person and shake real hands. Like that is unviable, honestly.
Dude.
Yeah, or phone calls. Who knows?
Phone calls.
Exactly.
Yeah, anything.
Dude. Yeah, exactly. If you don't want to shake anybody's hands right now, that's understandable.
Just like fist bumps. Alex, where can people find you if they want to connect with you, if they want to learn more about what you do?
Yeah, CoachAlexRay.com and Coach Alex Ray on Instagram and Facebook.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Guys, we're going to drop the link right in the description. All you got to do is like scroll down a little bit and tap it, and then you'll get in contact with Alex. He's super responsive, super awesome.
Before we leave, we actually have a question from Matt. And Matt, I think you stayed through the whole show, so thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And he says, what is your advice on how to find a life coach?
You give me a call, I'll be your best coach. No.
There you go. Just call Alex.
Hey, I'm going to say this conversation, I think you are an amazing coach. Yeah. So Matt, I will go ahead. Honestly, just reach out to Alex. I think he is great at what he does.
I'm interested in just what Alex says, though.
But if truthfully, like non-sarcastically, I mean, I am serious. I am a phenomenal coach and I can help. But
love it.
Just look at the coach's content that they're putting out. Whatever resonates with you. If what I'm writing on my social media, if my website, whatever, if that resonates with you and you're struggling with this fear to be authentic, if you're struggling with insecurity, I'm your coach. I'm the best there is to overcome insecurity. I can help you, anyone struggling with any insecurity, show up bravely. Absolutely. If that's not what you're struggling with, maybe you specifically have some other need that you're like, this is what I need. There are so many coaches out there. You just need to look at Google it and find and look at the web pages and see what message resonates with you.
Yeah, the message, we go back to that message.
Yeah, and you actually, I'm going to refer to actually something that you said at the beginning, right? Which is, kind of like halfway through it, you were like, if I could go back 5 years and talk to myself, right? And thinking what I'm doing right now, that's kind of it. Like the best person that we can help is the person that is walking the path that we already walk, right? So Matt, to answer your question, right? Ask yourself, what is the path that I'm walking right now? And then when you're looking at a coach and their content, and you can see, wow, this person actually walked that path and achieved something that I want to achieve. Maybe that person is the right person for you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And can I interject one quick, super awesome client story?
I guess we're going to do a 24-hour marathon. So let's go. Just like,
I'll make it super fast. Okay. So just in the theme of like overcoming fear, I had a client that came to me and she wanted to be a weight loss coach. And she had all this fear and drama around starting a business. She's like, I can't do it for all these reasons. I'm too old. I don't like social media. I'm not going to be successful. Like I don't want to own a business because that is just a giant pain in the ass. I worked with her for 2 months and she finally made her first Facebook post on Sunday.
Wow.
Right. And I just helped her like hold that place of bravery.
Yeah.
For 60 seconds to write the post and put it up. By yesterday, she had signed 3 clients totaling $15,000.
Wow.
Wait.
All the sounds. That's amazing. Wow.
And she still has people reaching out to her right now this week. She made another post yesterday, and like I have no doubt that by the end of next week, she's going to have at least 5 clients. I think she will be a fully sold out like in her business, I think by the end of the year.
Exciting. Wow.
And it was just about getting her from a place of being afraid to be vulnerable with everyone into like, okay, let me be totally vulnerable, even though I want to puke and like die for a minute, put it out there.
Yeah.
And then she's successful. She's
Thank
making
you.
money.
Incredible.
Yeah. That's amazing. Thank you so much. So again, Matt, for your question, someone that has walked your path and at the same time, we got to make sure they're being real and vulnerable, right? Because that transparency and that honesty is
so awesome.
invaluable. So thank you so much for sharing that.
If you're listening, watching, go connect with Alex. If you identify with any of these things that we talked about today, CoachAlexRay.com.
Yeah, and if you just want to be his friend, just connect with him too.
That too. Digital fist bumps. Bam, bam, bam. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Content is Profit podcast. Go ahead and subscribe. Smash that subscribe button and follow us on social media at BIZBROS Co everywhere.
And if you find this episode impactful, which I am sure you did because it was value packed, don't forget to share it and leave a 5-star review.
Thank you guys. Bye.